It seemed like Louis had everything others could only dream of: a perfect marriage, a cozy home, and a stable life. But one night turned his entire world upside down. When his wife Nina suddenly brought up the idea of an open marriage, he couldn't believe his ears. At first, he thought it was a joke, but what started as an experiment to save their relationship quickly turned into a betrayal beyond anything he could have imagined. While Nina was out chasing excitement on the side, Louis was quietly preparing a response she never saw coming. This story isn't just about infidelity. It's about how trust shatters, how a betrayed man learns to play by someone else's rules, and how he strikes where it hurts the most. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If it's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and like this video, as every like truly inspires me. Please tell me which city and country you watched this video from. Now, let's get started. Until recently, I believed my marriage was unshakable. My name is Louis, I'm 38, and for the past 11 years, I've been with my wife Nina, who is 35. We tied the knot 9 years ago, and though we never had children, our life felt full. We owned a charming house in the suburbs, had steady careers, and lavished attention on our 2 dogs, as if they were our own flesh and blood. To the outside world, we must have appeared like the quintessential couple, effortlessly happy, the kind people admire on social media. But behind closed doors, our life had settled into a predictable rhythm. I assumed that was just the nature of long-term relationships. I had no idea I was missing something crucial. Everything began shifting 2 months ago. Nina started going to the gym more frequently, spending extra time with friends, and scrolling through her phone late at night with a focus I hadn't seen before. At first, I brushed it off. Everyone needs their own space now and then, right? But then, during our quiet evenings, she began dropping comments that unsettled me. Do you ever feel like we've lost our spark? Or have we gotten too comfortable? Of course we were comfortable. That's what I thought a lasting relationship was about. Stability, security. Wasn't that the goal? I didn't dwell on it too much until one evening when she blindsided me. We were sitting on the couch, the television murmuring in the background, when she turned to me, her eyes alight with an energy I didn't quite understand. Her voice was careful, measured, like she was feeling her way through unfamiliar territory. I've been thinking a lot, she began. I feel like we've settled into these roles. Maybe we should try something new. I frowned, trying to parse her meaning. Something new? I echoed. Like picking up a new hobby? Maybe traveling more? She offered a hesitant smile. No, I mean our relationship. I think we should try an open marriage. For a fleeting second, I thought she was joking. But the way she averted her gaze, the way her fingers twisted together in her lap, told me she was serious. My brain stalled, unable to process the words. When I finally managed to speak, my voice came out flat. Why? It's not you, she assured me quickly, as though softening the impact. I love you, Louis. I just feel like something's missing. I think this could bring new energy into our marriage, help us grow. She continued, painting an optimistic picture of how this could work. Honest communication, clear boundaries, mutual exploration. She made it sound like a strengthening exercise for our marriage, but all I heard was that she wanted to be with someone else and needed my permission. I don't know how I kept myself composed that night. Maybe it was shock. Maybe I feared that resisting too strongly would push her further away. So I told her I'd think about it, and I did. For weeks, I dissected every conversation, scrutinized every subtle change in her behavior. Had I become too predictable? Too dull? Or was this her way of justifying something she had already started? By the time I finally gave her an answer, I felt like I was operating on autopilot. If this is what you think we need, I said, forcing the words out, let's try it. Her face lit up, her excitement undeniable. Thank you, she whispered, wrapping her arms around me. You won't regret this. But regret was all I felt. The following weeks were a tangle of contradictions. Nina seemed revitalized, more affectionate, positively glowing. She dressed up more often, constantly checked her phone, and went out with her friends at every opportunity. Meanwhile, I felt like I was unraveling, trapped in a nightmare of my own making. Every time her phone buzzed, every time she came home later than usual, my mind spiraled. Who was she with? Was it someone I knew? But I played my part, smiling, nodding, pretending we were navigating this together. I even tried to embrace the idea myself. Downloaded dating apps, chatted with a few women. But every conversation felt forced, empty. I didn't want someone new. I wanted to repair what was broken, not add fuel to the fire. Then, one night, Nina came home after midnight, her makeup smudged, her smile stretched a little too wide. As she slipped into bed beside me, something inside me cracked. I couldn't pretend anymore. I needed to know the truth. I began paying closer attention. Her phone habits, the way she spoke about her gym friends, her frequent late nights at work. Slowly, the pieces started falling into place. She hadn't been testing the waters. She had already plunged in. And that's when I realized, if she wanted an open marriage, she was going to get one, just not in the way she expected. Determined to keep a low profile, I set out to uncover the extent of her deception. It wasn't about curiosity anymore. It was about survival. I needed to know just how deep this went before making my next move. Her passcode remained unchanged, a sign she didn't think I'd be looking. Most of her messages had been wiped, and there were no overt signs of dating apps, but one name kept appearing in her WhatsApp history. Randy. Randy was a guy from her gym. I recalled meeting him once at a Christmas party, early 30s, covered in tattoos, exuding the kind of energy that suggested he lived for the gym. Their messages seemed ordinary at first, but the underlying tone was impossible to ignore, compliments that lingered too long. You looked amazing today. Can't wait for Friday. And then there were the selfies. Nina in form-fitting leggings and a sports bra, posed deliberately, designed to entice. My stomach twisted. She hadn't been asking for permission to explore. She had already begun. And I was done playing the fool. A smoldering heat crept up my spine, but I forced myself to suppress it. This wasn't definitive, at least not yet. I needed concrete proof. So, with a sour taste lingering on my tongue, I started observing her, carefully noting every move she made. Her routine was predictable: office, gym, occasional evenings out with friends. But Fridays were different. She clocked out at 5, supposedly went straight to the gym, yet never returned home until well after 10. My stomach twisted at the inconsistency. One Friday, I parked outside her gym, watching, waiting. She never showed up. Instead, she met Randy at an upscale downtown bar. They stayed just long enough to down a couple of drinks before slipping out together. My pulse pounded as I followed them, my grip tightening around the steering wheel. When they disappeared into his apartment, I remained in my car, torn between barging in and biding my time. I chose the latter. My phone buzzed. A message from Nina. Working late. Don't wait up. By the time she returned home that night, her hair immaculately in place, her alibi rehearsed, I had made up my mind. There would be no confrontation. Not yet. If she wanted to play this game, I would play it better. The following week, I decided to test the limits of her so-called open marriage. It was almost laughable how effortless it was. While Nina spent her nights entangled with Randy, I crafted a dating profile, not for love, not for validation, but simply for companionship. And I found it. Melody was 28, an event planner with a sharp tongue and a wicked sense of humor. Over drinks, her fingertips brushed against my arm, her gaze locked onto mine. Should we take this somewhere more private? She asked. I didn't hesitate. Then there was Phyllis, 31, a free spirit intrigued by what she called the transparency of my situation. Her energy was magnetic. By our second date, she invited me back to her place. I agreed. I never brought up Nina. I owed her nothing. The shift happened on another Friday night, her usual gym session. On a whim, I invited both Melody and Phyllis over for drinks. Risky? Absolutely. But I was past caring. When they arrived, something unexpected happened. They got along. Laughter filled the air, the drinks kept flowing, and soon, the night took an unforeseen turn. For the first time in months, I wasn't the one left alone, waiting, questioning. I had seized control. Nina walked in at midnight, freezing in the doorway. Melody and Phyllis lounged on either side of me, their amusement fading as they turned to face her. Louis. Her voice faltered, her eyes darting between the three of us. I remained still. "Oh, hey," I said, my tone casual, indifferent. "Didn't expect you home so early." Her face flushed crimson. For once, she had no response. I didn't give her one either. Without another word, she turned on her heel and disappeared into the bedroom. The next morning, she confronted me in the kitchen. "What the hell was last night?" I poured my coffee, unshaken. "Exactly what you wanted. An open marriage, right?" "Not like that," she snapped. "Bringing them here, into our home? Oh, but sneaking around with Randy was fine?" My voice was calm, too calm. The color drained from her face. You knew?" I exhaled, leaning against the counter, my untouched coffee cooling beside me. "I'm not an idiot, Nina. You wanted freedom. Now we both have it." She stood motionless, hands trembling. It was the reaction I had anticipated when I first set out to even the score. But instead of triumph, I felt empty. The damage was irreversible. After that morning, she pretended nothing had changed. She never mentioned Randy, and I never spoke of Melody or Phyllis. We drifted through the days like strangers forced to share a space, silent yet aware of the unspoken chasm between us. It was unsustainable. By Thursday night, the facade crumbled. "Can we talk?" she asked, lingering in the doorway as I watched TV. I muted the screen. "Go ahead." She hesitated, twisting her fingers, a nervous habit I knew too well. Whatever we're doing, it's not working. We're losing ourselves, Louis." A hollow laugh escaped me. "Losing ourselves? That's rich." Her eyes darkened. "You're not innocent in this. You invited strangers into our bed." I stood, my patience unraveling. "And you invited Randy into our marriage. Don't act like you're the victim." Her breath hitched. She stammered, How long have you known?" I met her gaze, unyielding. Long enough to see through every lie. And you know what? I almost let you believe you had the upper hand. But then it struck me. If you were set on dismantling our marriage, I wasn't about to just sit back and watch. No, I would make sure we destroyed it together. If it was going down, I'd help set the fire. Her eyes widened in shock. You? You orchestrated this? I shrugged, indifferent. Call it what you want, Nina. You insisted on an open marriage, so I gave you exactly that. Not as fun when the game turns on you, huh? For a long second, she simply stood there, rendered speechless. Then, without another word, she spun on her heel and stormed out the door. I didn't go after her. The next day, she skipped work, calling in sick. She locked herself in our bedroom and I let her stay there. But silence was never something that lasted between us. By the time night fell, I knew it was only a matter of time before she confronted me. Sure enough, at around 8, she emerged, her face blotchy, eyes puffy from hours of crying. "We have to fix this," she said, her voice unsteady. I didn't even look up from my phone. "Fix what?" "Us," she pleaded. "The damage, the trust. We have to repair it." I let out a sharp, humorless laugh. "You can't rebuild something that's already in ruins, Nina. The foundation is gone. I wasn't the only one who caused this," she snapped. I shook my head with a sigh. "Don't. You don't get to play the victim here. You wanted freedom. Well, now you have it. Hope you enjoy it." Fresh tears welled in her eyes, but I felt nothing. A week later, everything reached its breaking point. The moment I found out about Randy, I wasted no time getting a lawyer. It was time to move forward. That evening, Nina came home to find a thick envelope waiting for her on the dining table. She picked it up, a frown forming. "What's this?" "Divorce papers," I said flatly. Her face crumpled as she flipped through the pages. "You're really doing this?" "I'm done, Nina. This isn't fair," she protested. "We can work through this, Louis. We can go to therapy." "No," I interrupted, my voice firm. "We can't. The moment you invited someone else into our marriage, you made your choice. You wanted a way out? Well, here it is." Tears streamed down her face as she begged, as she clung to memories of the good times, hoping I'd remember what we once had. But it was too late. I had spent months gripping onto something that had long since died, only to realize I was prolonging my own suffering. Nina had made her decision, and now it was time for me to make mine. By the end of the week, she had packed up and left. The divorce was long and bitter, Nina fighting tooth and nail for more than what the prenup allowed. She kept insisting she had made a mistake, that she wanted to fix things, but I had stopped listening. I sold the house, severed ties with mutual friends, and started over. But fresh starts weren't as easy as I had hoped. Even with the satisfaction of regaining control, I couldn't ignore the weight of everything that had been lost. Nina moved in with Randy, but their so-called happiness was short-lived. Word eventually reached me. She left him after learning he had been cheating on her too. I felt no victory in that. As for me, I'm still picking up the pieces. Some days are better than others, but if I've learned anything, it's this. You can't move forward while clinging to the wreckage of the past, so piece by piece, I'm letting it all go. This story has come to an end. Any relationship is built on trust, respect, and honesty. Once these foundations collapse, the whole union falls apart. Playing the game of an open relationship won't save love if there's no loyalty or true desire to be together left in the heart. Betrayal, lies, and manipulation destroy not only your partner, but also yourself from within. So before you start looking for something new on the side, ask yourself, wouldn't it be better to bring back sincerity, have an honest conversation, and fight for real love? Because once trust is broken, it's nearly impossible to restore. Cherish those who are close to you, before it's too late. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you liked this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.